Oh my
Sorry,
god.
Kate, I have to open up social stream.
Oh man. This really, I feel like doing therapy with people, teaching them emotional regulation is a joke compared to this. This is like, if you really want to learn, just to do something like this. Because every time when something goes wrong, it's like testing me. Ooh, okay, so I think we're good. Oh, we're on, at least. Too right, Kate. I was like, who knew that? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Y'all are I feel calmer with you guys here. So don't leave the entire time. I actually don't know if people know this, but Emotions 101. Oh, wait, let me move this. Yeah. Emotions 101 was one of the first, if not the first video that I posted that ever popped off on on TikTok. And I remember, it's funny, when I posted it, I don't know how I post these videos sometimes, but when I posted it, I did this great introduction. I did this great, the video is great. It was under 3 minutes. And anyway, we're circling back to it. That was what, 2022. Yeah, January 2022. So, dang, it's been 4 years since my Emotions 101 video. I can probably play it. Let me see here. Hello, everyone. We're going to go over first good morning. I love when people say good morning. We're going to first go over the emotions video I posted yesterday. See, Joel, this is where I need maybe a title. You know? I guess there is a title. But something on the screen that says, let's talk about something yesterday. And I'll play it in a minute or two. You know, wouldn't that be cool? I don't know, captions. Are captions a thing on a live stream? I feel like they are on Facebook. I'm just talking to myself. They can be. Sweet. Buenos dias. I deleted TikTok, so hopefully you peek at it. Oh, TikTok too addicting at this point, you know. I don't think I think I may have deleted it once or twice before. But I love it too much. Okay, so I guess I'll wait another minute or two. What is it? Where do they do this? Where they're like, okay, I guess we'll wait till everyone gets settled in. There's like that awkward time where you're waiting. Average live stream. Yeah, okay. Look, you can see everybody. Oh, I see it here. Joel, is there a way to do a background on it? Like where it doesn't look like just words on the screen, where it can look like its own separate or maybe the font color. I don't know. I guess we can play with it at a different time. You know what I mean, though? Or white page background, like a background. click, click, click. It's okay if not. It's no big deal. Then I'll jump in. And how do we take it off? Because I might use it. I might use the whiteboard. Is there a way to? Oh, wow. That's amazing. Little clicks. Okay. All right. I think we're good to go. I'll go ahead and start. All right. All right. Good morning, everybody. We're going to be... Okay. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Class with Kate, where I take you to school on all things restoring relationships. Today, we're going to go over Emotions 101 before our caller at 11. Let's see. Before we get into this, make sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff. What else? There was one more thing. Oh, I'll say this probably during this too, but I post a lot of videos that get a lot of pushback sometimes. Like the videos I posted last week on walking on eggshells as a parent and how that doesn't exist. And I get a lot of people that are like, wait, this feels right or this feels wrong, but I'm also open to learning more. And I can't like answer it and answer their questions in a DM or in a comment sometimes. So I was like, why don't we open up the calls sometimes to people that want to ask questions about certain topics? So like if you want to be a caller and you have questions about a video I've posted, like last week on Thursday, actually, Megan, our caller, she was like, what is a top-down approach and how does it apply to my marriage? So that's kind of what we talked about. And it was really, really amazing. And so if you have questions about any other topic that I've posted about, like last night, I reposted a video on emotions and the fascia that I'm going to go over today, again, before our caller. But if you're reading it and you're like, oh, like I'm struggling with that, or I have a totally different opinion, and we can, not have a debate, but like intellectually discuss something, I'm so down for that. So calls are not just to kind of anonymously share your experience and get perspective on it. They can also be, oh, I have a challenge to this video. Oh, I have a thought I want to add. Because a lot of, like, for example, when I said parents can't walk on eggshells around their kids, that's actually emotional neglect. I got people being like, what about neurodivergence? What about, or whatever. Like, this basically doesn't apply to me. And a lot of other creators can like hate on people like that because they're like, hey, just scroll, just look at this video and scroll past and move on. Whereas for me, I really kind of want to get into it. And so we can all learn and have a healthy discussion. I think that would be really good for the world to display either healthy disagreement and curiosity and connection, even when you disagree, and like being open to each other's point of view. Because I'm so open to obviously people's point of view about this, even though I still don't think I'm wrong. So anyway, that's what calls are for too. If you want to be here and you want to discuss something, you want to have a question, please engage. Also, we are trying out a new feature today. If you're on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch, I think you can see it on the screen. There's the chat. And so people's like in real time, you can kind of see what people are commenting all across different platforms. So that's cool. So, engage as much as you want in the chat this first 30 minutes. And then we'll have our caller, Sarah, at 11. And then we'll get into it with her. Obviously, put everything in the chat. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I'll be back at 10:30 a.m. Central to talk about our caller today. And then maybe add on to any type Emotions 101 stuff that we talk about now. So let's get into it. All right. So Emotions 101, the video I posted last night, it was a repost from April of last year, was talking about emotions and how they're connected in the body via the fascia. So let's first talk about what emotions are. Emotions are our body's physical response to our environment. Okay. So either our external environment or our internal environment. Emotions are information, it's data on our environment. It's our body's physical intelligence system. There has been so much misinformation for so long about emotions. There's like nothing that's gotten more hate than emotions for some reason, other than children. That's a whole other thing. But emotion, and interesting the connection between emotions and children. Anyway, emotions are our body's physical response to our environment. It's data, it's information, and it's intuitive. It's the point of our emotions is to give us data so that we can problem solve our environment and to get what we need and to ideally like help others get what they need. Okay. So the way I kind of like to describe this and why this is such an issue in mental health is, so here's our body. And we have kind of like three main energy centers. This is like a very oversimplified version of this. I'm not a doctor, by the way. I'm not like a body healer. I'm a trauma therapist and a relationship therapist. And emotions to me are the bridge to all of it. If people were to figure out their emotions mentally and in their heart, like in a physical sense, problem solved, okay? So all to say, this is very oversimplified and I'm not necessarily like trained. A lot of this is based on my experience and my own kind of self-pursued education. So emotions 101, it's our body's response to our environment, either external or internal. And it's typically a combination of both. So in our bodies, we have three main energy centers: brain, heart, soul, okay? Brain is responsible for thoughts, heart is emotions, and our gut is our intuition, okay? So the reason this is very simple, okay? This is very simple so that I can illustrate and teach you. This is, that's the point of just keeping it simple, even though it may feel oversimplified, okay? There has been so much science around the brain in recent years. And for some reason, emotions are really getting left out. What we see in therapy a lot of the time is people come and they are like set mentally. These are the very self-aware people that we know of, and maybe we are them, that come to therapy and they're like, I know everything that's wrong with me. I know everything that's wrong with my partner, my husband, my wife, my kids. We're in therapy. We're all like doing the work. We're all over Instagram, reading everything, seeing everything all of the time about our issues and our problems, and even stuff that's good about us, we just know this cognitively. The problem is that an overemphasis on thoughts and logic negates and blocks these two other energy centers. So most of us, I just had like bazoink, my head went berserk about other reasons for this, but most of us are cut off from our bodies. We're cut off from feeling our feelings. And so when someone that's very self-aware goes to therapy and they're doing cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, they're doing even like what are some other ones? I don't know, DBT, ACT, all these other therapy types. A lot of money has been put into research behind CBT, which is very interesting to me. Not a lot of money has been put into somatic therapies. Somatic meaning soma, I think that means body. So somatic therapies. When if you are stuck in intellectualizing land, aka just focusing on the brain, we are missing our body and our body's intelligence. And for a lot of people, just all to say, no shame, because this is not your fault, okay? This is why it's so important that we're parenting our kids differently and we're taking a bottom-up approach with them. The way that human beings have evolved from a physical sense, even if you read about the brain, we've evolved in a bottom-up way. If you think about a deer in the woods, when they see a tiger, they're going to be instinctual, right? Intuition and emotions. They're going to be like, oh, I'm scared. I need to freeze. Like they're body first. Why this matters is when you're thinking about our emotions and our intuition, if you're so focused on thoughts and logic, you're missing like the other, I would say this is like body is like 80% of it, genuinely, okay? You're missing, your brain is only focused on, well, hold on. You're taking in so much information all of the time, right? Like me sitting here in this room, I'm looking at the camera. I'm seeing the windows. I'm seeing the things on my wall, you know, the bookcase. I'm seeing my mic. I'm seeing myself here. But depending on where my intention is, my body is taking in so much data that it makes sense that I have a bottom-up approach to things, right? Like in a different environment, my body is going to react before my thoughts are. That's how our bodies are made. We are made bottom up. Kids are bottom up. That's why we talk about managing their emotions and them being regulated and calm before you ask them what's going on, you know, like, because they're bottom up. They need to be regulated with. Kids need to be co-regulated with until they're, I think it's 8 years old. Okay. And so if you were parented in a different way, a behavior only way, and listen, behavior is like separate than this. These are your internal systems. Behavior ideally is just the expression of it, but behavior is more socialized. We kind of form our behavior kind of from the outside in, right? And so again, that's why parenting is so focused on this bottom up way now, because it's like people are really misaligned. Their behavior is very different than what they feel on the inside. And that's because they were, excuse me, stunted because they were focused on behavior before their body was even ready. Okay. So we need to focus. So it's very normal if you are not connected with your emotions, connected with your body. However, the goals now are to get reconnected to it. Now, in my emotions 101 video I did a couple years ago, this is the first video ever that like popped off, so that's fun. But I talked about how emotions can get stuck in our body, and that's kind of a metaphor that is it's not entirely accurate. It's more complex than that, kind of like what I'm talking about here. It's more complex than that. That trauma isn't necessarily stored in your body like gold in a treasure chest, and if you just tap on the treasure chest, it like opens and you're good. It doesn't really work like that. The way I understand it, so emotions, remember, are energy in motion, okay? Look it up if you don't believe me. This is what it is. Energy in motion. And remember, it's our body's way, it's our body's intelligence system, how we respond to our environment, what data we're taking in, okay? So emotions are energy in motion. And when we're not connected to our body, we're not connected to our emotions. And that's why people stay in abusive relationships. That's why they stay in different situations. Because like, what happened to like men too? Men are so logical. It's like, that's a myth. That's a belief. That's not necessarily true. And the goal is to be reasonable. You know, being reasonable factors in your logic and your emotions, right? So here's the problem when you're not connected to your body. When you're not connected to how you feel in your body in the moment, you're not in the moment, right? Like you're in your head. All you're doing is staying up here. And when you cannot be in the moment, you do not have access to your emotions or intuition. What we need to do is get emotions like energy free flowing in our body. Okay, that's what we need to be fully in the moment. Why being in the moment matters is because that's where new things happen, right? If you're into like quantum physics or whatever, like there is a million possibilities for how you can be different in different situations, right? Like how you can change these stuck behaviors. remember, I mean, I don't know why I only gave myself 25 minutes for this. I could talk for hours. I don't know if my voice would allow it. So when you're disconnected from your body, you're disconnected from your emotions and your intuition. So you don't have this like inner voice that you're hearing. You're only hearing your thoughts. And again, that's not the only information. Thoughts too, like we can be very stuck in our thoughts and operate in fear. We don't even know that we're scared. We don't even know because we're not connected to our emotions, and we think that being scared is like, it like doesn't look like what it looks like. The most logical people that you know are the most fear-based. Okay, just saying. And they don't know that, and of course they don't know that because no one's taught them this, and they were not nurtured emotionally. So all to say is that when we can reconnect with our body, we reconnect with our feelings and our intuition, and we can be in the moment and literally like change our reality, so to speak, because we're open to something new. Okay? So the question is, how do we get reconnected to our emotions? How do we do that? I had a client told me about this TikTok he saw. He was saying that like these CIA people or Navy SEALs or something, when they're going in these extreme situations, when they're going into, I don't know, I think of like, what's that movie with, where they get Osama bin Laden? What's that movie? Help me out. What's that movie with Jessica Chastain? Oh, I've seen it like 10 times. I love that movie. I love her in that movie. Y'all will get back to me. In that movie, they're not a SWAT team, but like they're the best of the best Navy SEALs, whatever. And they go into this compound where they think Osama bin Laden is. And so we're all thinking, as outsiders, like, how do you emotionally do that? Like these people are just like us. How do they do this? Well, the TikTok video was like, what they do in those situations is they notice what's happening in their bodies. Okay. They're like, okay, my heart rate is elevated. My thoughts are racing. I'm noticing sweat under my armpits. I'm noticing a lot of restless energy. Like they say that to themselves in these situations to essentially calm down their nervous system. Because emotions are energy in motion. Y'all remember my little tool? Well, it's not my little tool. Dan Siegel came up with it. Name it to tame it. When you can notice literally the physical sensations that are happening in your body, it will inherently like bring down the intensity of them so you can be present and actually respond instead of react. Now, the video I made yesterday, or I didn't make it yesterday, I posted it yesterday, was talking about kind of the more micro of this. This is the concept, but the micro of this, like physically, and you can look this up. Emotions are energy in motion. They're kind of electrical signals. That's how they are transmitted in our bodies. They travel along something called the fascia. Now, the fascia is the future. I got to tell you. Where am I putting this here? Fascia. 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 Yeah. Okay. Zero Dark 30. Yes. You got it. Yes. Okay, that's the movie. Anyway, the fascia is the future, okay? When you think about what's inside of your body, we think of like a skeleton and then muscle and then blood, right? And then joints, all that shit. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But the point is that all of that in our body is held together by the fascia. Think of the fascia as like saran wrap all over your body, okay? So it's literally like holding you together under your skin. So if we think about emotions traveling along the fascia, we need to be connected to our fascia, right? Like, so we need, I like to really teach intellectualizers to like intellectually understand this first, visualize it first, and then kind of the sensations come with different body work that you do. But they travel along the fascia, and then emotions they're expressed through your nervous system, right? So the fascia is the saran wrap, and your nervous system, if you have ever seen a picture of it, it's like, what does it look like? It looks like a tree inside of you, like with all types of leaves and branches and twigs, stuff like that. And so doing trauma work is doing somatic body work, which is what you need if you identify as being an intellectualizer, being disconnected from your body, being disconnected from your inner voice. Working on the fascia is something that you need to do. Another interesting thing about the fascia, and I think I said this in the video, is that you're more connected to it than you think, because the other signals that travel along the fascia are signals of hunger, of thirst, of the need to go to the bathroom. So like that's a body awareness that you may already have, and maybe that's something to build, like to start from. It's not like, oh, I'm totally disconnected from my body. I have to start at zero. It's like, let's start with what you already have, which is most likely, okay, when you need to go to the bathroom, when like urine is feeling, and you know how badly you need to go. Let's keep building awareness there. When you're thirsty, I'm thirsty because I'm yapping my head off. Notice when that's happening. Notice when you're thirsty, right? Notice hunger. So that's why trauma is so connected with eating disorders, because there can be a lot of misfired signals or disconnect in the hunger signals part of this. Now, there's I could do a whole other thing about neurodivergence and issues that come up with that, and their issues with the fascia. Because I've gotten pushback, of course, on this being like, my kid has autism and he really struggles with going to the bathroom. This isn't easy. So all to say is that the point of this is just to point you in the right direction of where you need to go to fix this, right? Like the end of the video is like, fix your fascia, right? So fixing your fascia is doing a couple things. I'm going to recommend 2 therapies for you. One is called myofascial release, the John Barnes method. Okay, that's one. I think if you go to myofascialrelease.com, I think it's automatically the John Barnes method. So that's one. And then the other one is craniosacral therapy. These are both listed on my website, by the way, under resources. But if you're looking to do somatic work that's not therapeutic, that's not mental health therapeutic, I mean, it is, but it's, it's not done by a marriage and family therapist or an LPC. Start with those 2 things: craniosacral therapy and myofascial release, the John Barnes method. It's like touch healing. Reiki is similar to this. There are a lot of other things, but this isn't regular myofascial release, by the way. This is a very gentle, I love it because it's like letting the body heal itself just with gentle touch. So anyway, those are 2 things. Now in the therapy realm, there's EMDR, there's brain spotting, and then there's something called somatic experiencing. So this is kind of like the new wave of practitioners, is like, we're somatic people, we're bottom up people. Trauma therapists, they understand how this works. Okay. So when you're looking for support, that is what you need. Other than, a cognitive understanding of how this works. So that's kind of emotions 101. This is like something I'm so passionate about, because understanding this and like healing this stuff in yourself, in the system of your own body, can help you change your role in relationships. Okay. And that's what we're trying to ultimately do, is like get out of the stuck patterns we are in our intimate relationships with people we love and care for. We just don't know how. So again, I know we're all online. I know we all feel like we are getting therapy online, right? Therapy, this touch healing, it's a bottom-up process. You being online is a top-down process. It's like, oh yeah, I'm getting this information, so that means that I'm different. It can be incomplete. And so I really encourage people to get, not offline, but like add in a body element to this, okay? So I do have to get on a call now, but I will answer these questions after it. So keep leaving them in the chat and we'll get to them. So let's get on with Sarah today and go from there. Let me see, schedule. How do I get in here? Zoom, zoom, zoom. Do I like sensory motor, or Hakomi? You know, I'm honestly not familiar with those, but they sound good. All right, here we go. Here's what I need to do. Schedule. Why am I struggling with this? Oh, I know what to do. Here's what we're going to do. Blah, 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 blah. Here we are. All right. Let me see if she's here. Is she here? I don't see her yet. I don't see her yet. Here we go. Let me see. She's here. Okay, let's do it. All right, again, you guys, during this call, leave your question stuff in the chat. We'll get to it. All right. Let me see audio. Hello, Sarah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you, talk to you. Remember, only your voice is recorded, so no worries here. I'm very excited to see you though, so that we can like forget all of the noise and stuff.
So I saw you're like, is she here? And I was like, it says that they let you know I'm here.
Oh, good. Yeah. No stress. I mean, sorry if that stressed you out.
Oh no, you're good.
I'm trying to like, the more I do this, the more I'm like, okay, things are going to happen. Just, it's cool.
Yes,
yeah, technology. Okay, so we have, every call I've been doing is 20 to 40 minutes, just depending on the situation. What I like to do at the beginning is just hear a quick like synopsis of your situation and any questions, like any specific questions you have. And if you don't have questions, we can kind of like figure it out as we go also.
2 questions and I've got my summary, so I'm good
Great.
to go.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump in. Tell me what's going on.
Okay. So I have been with my husband for over a decade. We've been married about half of that. I'm religious, was raised religious. He's not. He's been the under-functioning partner, focusing on financial provision. Since we've had our kids, I've been a stay-at-home mom. I do fill the over-functioning role. I've been working on moving away from that. I was working full-time up until the point we had kids, and then I've been working part-time around his work schedule since then. After years of bringing up like wants and needs and things that I had from him, more so surrounding relational effort or, domestic shared workload, I finally recently told him, I was like, we either need help or we need a separation because nothing's changing. At that point, he was like, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. But as per, his cycles, it's verbal and there's been no consistent effort made from it.
Yeah.
We have really big differences in parenting approach. It kind of almost comes off like good cop, bad cop type vibes. I'm more invested in the emotional nurturing. We have a 7 and a 4-year-old. And he's like, they need to behave because they know better. Essentially. Anytime I brought up like things he's done that technically cross over into like emotional abuse or intimate coercion, he's denied those things because he doesn't have intentions of harm, therefore it cannot be abuse. And let's see. The focus recently has been more so on me and my faults as he's finding about the things that I've been doing to kind of prepare and protect myself in the event we inevitably do separate. Because he feels betrayed. Why would I do these things? I'm sneaking away money, all this stuff, stealing from him basically. So we may have a conversation about either of our sides, but it's like we reset to like whatever our normal is
Right.
after that, as if the conversation has fixed the problem and we can move on from there. Um, and one thing you mentioned earlier before with the emotions thing, where you're like, the hate for emotions thing, he likes to say, everyone likes to talk about them, but no one actually cares about your feelings. So he's like, I care about your feelings, but the world doesn't. So you need to get off that, basically. So I was like, oh, I want to mention that.
Well, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
So my two questions are, because I'm pretty certain that I will be leaving him at some point. There is religious stigma around that. So what boundaries can I set when it comes to the well-being of the kids, because our parenting styles differ so much? And then secondly, like how could I really confirm that decision for myself? About leaving while maintaining calm around him when we have disagreements all the time. Basically, things are fine until they're not.
Yeah.
Those are my two questions.
Yes. Well, first of all, I'm really sorry you're in this situation. This is, if you've listened to the calls so far, I don't know if you have, but this is
Most of them, yeah.
I think this has been like half, if not over half of the situations, similarities is I am doing all the work, the overfunctioning role. We have kids. I don't want to do this. I don't want to even be thinking about this. But the lack of effort and action has kind of forced me into this position where I have to choose myself and the well-being of my kids. What do I do? And so let me just repeat what I heard you say so I can make sure I have the details in my mind. You've been together 10 years, married for half, 7-year-old, 4-year-old. You're a stay-at-home mom. You were working, but then stopped, and then now you're working part-time.
So I work part-time surrounding his work schedule. So right now he is doing travel work, so I'm not working because he's only home 1 day a week. But surrounding that, I was working 3 to 5 nights a week.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And there are religious and parenting, I don't know if incompatibilities are the words, but I'm hearing there are religious and parenting incompatibilities, but I'm also hearing the weight of the religious incompatibility. Is that kind of the deciding factor for you?
That is a partial of it. So which ties into my overfunctioning. So like I was, raised, you are to be the help me, and I like to do my job well. So I full on dived into that. So I'm sure I am a big part of the underfunctioning from him because, oh, hey, she wants to do this. Sure. Why not? But even as I'd ask over the years for change, those things wouldn't happen.
Right.
At least not consistently, maybe for a couple weeks, couple months, and then they drop back off.
Right. And he's not religious. So
No.
Is there an element of entitlement with the underfunctioning? Because you're saying like I'm hearing you say I definitely have a role in the dynamic of overfunctioning and underfunctioning. And I'm hearing you say there were some beliefs under that fueled that. And now have you changed? Have you just been more flexible in how you understand that now? Like the helpmate thing. What's changed?
I think so. I think the portion like on his end more so is like, well, and he's walked back the word allow because he's like, that doesn't sound right. But he's like, I've been okay with letting you take the kids to church and letting you homeschool them and raise them the way that you want to because you make good points and things. But when it comes to, okay, we need more relationally, it's like, oh, well, I let you live your life the way you want. Why do you need all these extra things from me?
Oh, how has that been for you?
It's been a struggle. So since I brought up our big conversation towards the end of last year, I started having anxiety attacks. I never had them before. I've learned how to manage them. I did so very quickly, actually. But it was interesting because you mentioned paying attention to your body and things like that. It was interesting to see that. We would just be sitting on the couch, not even talking. We would had a good day. And I'm like, why is my chest tight? And I started realizing our feet are touching. Just the fact that our feet were touching would trigger it. I've gotten better since then, but
wow.
It's me paying a lot more attention to myself, working on centering myself a little bit more, working on decentering him a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which has been easier with him only home 1 day a week.
Right.
but he still feels there are a lot of expectations. Like he'd get mad that I wasn't doing a certain chore that I used to do. And I'm like, well, you told me in a moment of anger to stop doing it. He's like, well, I'd feel like I shouldn't have to ask for you to do it again. Like I'm gone all week. I'm more than paying all of the bills. Like it would be nice if you did this thing for me. I'm like, if you'd like me to, I will, but you need to tell me that. I'm going
Right.
off of what you're telling me.
Mm-hmm.
And his needs and wants continue to change. He feels the same of me, but I let him know I've been mentioning these things throughout our whole relationship, and now they're all coming to a head. So it feels like I'm throwing a million things at you, but they've already been existing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's he's against therapy. He told me he'd be willing to go. That's the one thing I haven't tried is setting up the appointment. I don't want to be the one to have to do that.
Right. 'Cause, yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, he's like, he feels that they'll either agree, just be on my side, or he'll have to do work that he thinks is stupid and unnecessary.
So he's in a place where he's like willing to go, but not willing to work, basically.
He says he's willing to go. I feel like if he was actually willing to go, then in the last several months, there would have been more consistent changes, even with him only home 1 day a week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the decision for myself to leave. We're in a we moved to an area we were unfamiliar with. That's when things got worse. He thinks that if when we move back, which we will be soon, when we move back, things will just go away and be fine again.
Will you be closer to family and other support? Is that why?
I will be there. I will be there.
Okay. When you move back.
Yes, but
Okay.
but the big thing there is like in maintaining the decision to go is based in my religion and how I was raised. I also I know he loves his kids, but he does not raise them emotionally. It's more so a disciplinarian. Yeah, behavioral. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more behavioral. If he sees something he doesn't like, it's like they know better. Quash the behavior. That's my wording, not his.
Sure.
But it's frustrating because he said the other day, you could read all the books you want and you could do all the research you want, but you can disagree with me as much as you want, but my proof is the history of the humanity.
What the hell does that mean? What?
If you look at how the world works, if you're soft on your kids, you're gonna raise soft children who just walk all over you. And I told him, I'm like, I'm not permissive parenting, I'm gentle parenting. He goes, no, you're doing exactly permissive parenting.
Oh, is he a parenting expert? Does he know what permissive parenting is?
I gave him a brief explanation, and he thinks so. My 4-year-old, obviously she's the second, so it's a lot easier to try new things with her.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of letting her have her expressions, her emotions, her outbursts, so that I can calm her down and walk her through them.
Yeah.
Again, she's only 4. And he's like, oh, you're allowing her to scream at you, yell at you, hit you, be disrespectful. I'm like, if she's going to thrash her feet while I'm carrying her to her room, like, that's going to happen. He's like, you can't just let her misbehave and disrespect you and then hug her and tell her that it's fine. I'm like, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm calming her body. And then we have a conversation as much as you can with the 4-year-old. And a lot of the times now she'll go on her own and apologize to the offended party.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's huge because she wasn't doing that before.
Right. So she's
like,
coming there on her, like she's getting there on her own.
Yeah. And all he sees is she's getting more disrespectful by the day, and he won't allow anyone to disrespect his wife. I'm like, that's ironic, but okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry you're in this situation, and it's again far too common. But I'm also hearing you say one of your questions was like, so I'm pretty sure we're going to be separating. I'm pretty sure like I'm going to have to leave him because of this, but how do I protect my kids from this parenting?
Yeah, because we do video calls daily. If something happens with my youngest, yeah, if I have an interaction with my youngest during the call, I'll go handle that, and he'll tell my oldest how the younger one is not acting appropriately and I shouldn't allow her to act that way.
He's triangulating your 7-year-old in your parenting disagreements.
And then proceed to have a discussion with me in front of her about I need to be harder and not so soft on the younger one. So it's like, at what point because I don't want to use the kids as an essence of punishment. I mean, I could walk away from the phone call, and I have sometimes, but then he could still continue to talk to her. And I'm not going to lord over, if you have this conversation with her, I'm going to hang up the phone. I feel that that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's also a logical boundary there. Like, you don't discuss that parenting, with
Totally.
the young children.
Totally.
And especially like in person, there are times where my younger will be crying for me. Like, there was an incident recently where like she was scared to try something new. She was literally pleading for me to go help her, and he said, "No, leave her. She's always going to call for you if you always go to her." I'm like, "She needs a safe person." So finally he went to deal with it, and she was trying to look at me. He's like, "Don't look at her, you're looking at me. You're talking to me right now." And when I could make eye contact with her, I could get her to do a deep breath, which helped her to calm down. But he further escalated to then later go de-escalate. The de-escalation conversation was great, but he had to get his way seemingly first and get the correct behavior out of her that he wanted before he would calmly discuss it with her. And I was not allowed to go to her. So it's stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't even know what boundaries can really be set, because I could have technically gone to her anyways, but then I'm dealing with the discomfort that I'm going to deal with from him later.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Hold on just a second.
I'm sorry. I know I'm throwing a lot at you too.
No, I'm following every single thing you're saying. Hold on. I'm having a camera situation real quick. Let me see. Maybe my other one. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Hold on. I don't know if this. Let's see. I don't know why it would be doing that. Here we go. Well, there's that. There we go. It's back. Okay. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Have you guys tried to have any other conversations with anybody else? Like a pastor, your parents, his parents, like anyone else?
So we are no contact with his parents.
By his choice?
By unanimous vote.
Oh, really?
Yes, by far unanimous vote. My mother-in-law kind of went along with whatever father-in-law's motions dictated, and he was physically and verbally abusive. So I know where he comes from, where my husband comes from, but I know that also doesn't excuse what he is now, or how he chooses to act now. So he's aware that my parents are aware of the situation. He does not attend church with myself and the kids. He is very against other people being in his business. His best friend is aware of what's going on, and we kind of talk separately. But again, he's like I have no right to be communicating with the only person he really has.
Okay.
When his friend was the one who reached out to me to get my side so he could know how to best kind of, talk to my husband and help him through things.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we haven't talked to anybody together about anything.
Because the reality of the situation is that you leaving and like, I don't know if like taking the kids is the right way to say it, but would you have primary custody? Like, have approached a lawyer?
I haven't yet. I've done a bit of my own research. I'm sure I would. I've been a stay-at-home mom, and I homeschooled them both for the whole time.
Uh-huh. And you'd be able to work like in the future if...
I'm taking steps to either, if things worked out great, then my income I would be bringing in would help benefit the family. And if not, it will help benefit my portion of the family.
Yeah. Because it sounds like ultimately, I think, and this is not just you, but what anybody wants is to be, whether they stay together or not, to be amicable with their children's parents. Yeah. And if I was you, what I would be doing every single day is, I am unhappy. What should we do? This is not working. What should we do? To him every single day. And if he's willing to go to therapy, like to try it, I would try it. Because again, the goal is to be amicable. Because he's going to be in your kid's life ultimately. Do you think he would be, if you divorced, he would be in a situation where he would not see the kids or have access to
It would
them?
only be because of work. And that's the other reason that I would have primary custody, is simply because of his work schedule. But that was the big thing, as outside of the immediate, betrayal of me bringing up therapy or leaving, was, you're telling me I have to pay for a lawyer or pay for a therapist, or else you're going to take my kids from me. I'm like, it's not about taking
Right.
them away.
It's
I want you to
he's
have a good
twisting
relationship.
everything you're saying. Yeah. And so there are a couple options, right? Like I don't know what state you live in, but like there are options to present. We can do this therapist that's trained in this, that can help us with this, to help us. There's something called discernment counseling. That's different than regular counseling. Like there's other types of therapy that you go in and, it's like, let's get to work on our relationship. That's not the place you're in. You're in a place of like kind of do or die. We're past, the game is over. We're in overtime, like it's time for a Hail Mary situation. I need to really assess the situation, and he needs to be faced with reality that that's the place you're in. Right. So there's discernment counseling, which is showing up as you are basically today, of like, I can't do this relationship for everything you told me. I mean, the goal again would be if there's, because the goal again is just to get in front of someone else that's trained. And I've heard from a lot of different people that have stayed married because their partner has changed and stepped up, even after a separation, even after, like they've had to protect themselves and their kids. I've heard from people that are like happily divorced. I've heard from people that are divorced and they're like, that was the hardest thing. I don't feel like I tried everything I could have, and I regret some parts of it. So everyone is different. I'm not here to tell you what's right for you. I'm here to tell you that you have options, and that ultimately, like, the reality is that he's going to be in your life. And at this point, and there's also a certain type of therapy that you would really benefit from knowing. It's have you heard of Terry Real before? Terry Real, Real. What's his Instagram? Yeah, Real Terry Real is his Instagram. Did you find him? Couples therapist and New York Times bestselling author. So he created a therapy modality called relational life therapy, RLT. And I think there's even a website, he probably has a website where there's a directory, like a therapist directory. And this type of therapy is different because it's like couples and relationship therapy, but it's created by Terry Real, who acknowledges very real differences in relationships between men and women, like how men are very like I said, all the calls I've had so far are like your situation, where it's like, these men are not open to this and everything's falling apart really because of them. I know I have issues, right? But like, we can't get anywhere because he's not open to help. He's not open to the XYZ. So a therapist like this they're trained, like, or I guess trained, but like they're not neutral, where it's like, okay, you guys both have a role. Your over-functioning is what we need to focus on with you. His over-functioning, it's very direct, I think, and more reality checking than, again, going into these more like emotionally focused therapy, which is like, okay, let's get into this dynamic and get into it. Those two therapies, I think, could get you in front of someone that could be helpful. If you're ready to go the legal route, there's getting a consult with a lawyer who's making sure you're protected. Like you said, you're doing things to already protect yourself. It's getting more information there. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's totally up to you. I would just say that he's gone a lot. It's not like this is necessarily a boundary situation, like just where you need to have boundaries day to day, because he's not there every day. This is something where what I'm hearing is that you need kind of a bigger force or a bigger situation that's proportionate to your readiness to leave, which would be involving another professional or a third party of some sort, whether that's a mediator, whether that's a, lawyer, whether that's a therapist, kind of saying these are the choices that we have right now. And if I don't hear from you on this choice, like you picking one right now, this is the choice I'm going to take because I'm ready. Like I don't want that. I've never wanted this. What I will tell you is that your emotions are telling you something. Your emotions are real. Have you heard of the Gottmans? They've written books. Yeah. Four Horsemen. Yeah. But they talk about, so I've read a bunch on them, but they talk about how in marriage, none of that stuff really matters unless the man is open to accepting influence from the wife. Like you can't do work unless both people are open to each other. And obviously that this can apply to women too. But it just sounds like if he's saying no to everything that you're saying, whether it's parenting and in your relationship in general, financially, if he's holding those things over your head, this is a bigger issue than just like disagreements. This is him not being open to your influence at all.
Which is it's weird to think about in that aspect because in a lot of cases, like he would fully claim he is open to my influence. He's allowed me to homeschool. He'd become okay with me taking the kids to church. Anytime we're going to make a move or he's thinking about like whatever career decisions he's thought about, we've had conversations about it, which in my mind, I'm like, on those things, of course, you'd talk to your partner, your spouse about those things and get their input. And he says that if I had said no to any of those things that, he would have listened and, acted accordingly, but I never said no. And I'm like, well, you present things logically, you make good points for what you say, or it affects you and not me. So why would I disagree with those things? So it's definitely a different brain shift to think about, the other things in that aspect. He thinks that we have like financial equality, like more an old school kind of, we have the same bank accounts we have for the most part. He's supposed to be aware of everything I'm doing financially, not for the sake of control, but for openness and honesty. Like I have a credit card that he thought that I got rid of a long time ago because he misremembered. And doesn't matter how many times I tell him, he thinks I've lied to him about it. I have an old work account that I never started using until recently in preparation for, potential relational change. And he says I'm stealing money. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I make maybe $300 to $500 a week and 10% of that goes in my account. Like what I am working, like I'm taking literally nothing of what I've worked to achieve.
So let me ask you this. Does he think that he's happy in the relationship and the way it's going?
He was. Every time he thinks that we're in a really, really good place is because I've stopped asking for help. I've quieted myself. I've, accepted the reality, of our situation, whatever it is, until I'm like, I've tried asking, I've tried not asking. I can't take it. Hello, help me. And he's like, oh, I thought we were fine. And that's happened 3 times in our relationship. So this is the most recent, biggest one because now it's a marriage and kids are involved this time.
Does this predate the kids too, looking back?
Yes. Yes. So we didn't join finances until we did get married. But we had always split the bills 50-50. We were both working full time. His had more commute, so he was gone from the house more, so I would do more in the house. But it was always a financially equal, and then like he'd pay for dates. So if we wanted to swap that for my, labor in the home type deal. But I don't know if it was because I wanted to be helpful. So I would always pick up and then I go, hey, this is actually unfair. I don't like this. Can you do this, please? And he's like, it's never been a problem before. Why does it matter now? Well, I've tried telling you, and apparently I haven't been as direct as I could be about it. So I'm being very direct now. And then sometimes I get changed, sometimes I don't. Like my current stance on the laundry, if it's in the hamper, I'll wash it. If it's not, I won't. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then he gets mad when he runs out of clothes because they're all by his bed, not in the hamper.
Hmm.
So it's little things like that. Like I have set those types of boundaries, and I don't know if that would really be considered an actual boundary, but like I've set those kind of rules,
Mm-hmm.
little ones here and there. But it's harder when it's about the kids, when I'm being told, "Hey, you leave that child alone. They need to figure it out. They need to learn to not be so scared." And then
Yeah.
I'm not, not that I'm not allowed to, but I'm told to leave the child alone, so I'm expected to listen to what he says.
Hmm.
Um, or like going to the oldest and saying, this isn't how she should be acting. I'm sorry your mom's letting her get away with stuff like this,
Hmm.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when yes, I did parent her differently when she was younger, but when she was younger, I was able to give her more attention, so I parented differently. I also know more now than I did then. So kids change, each kid is different and parenting is different, and he thinks that we should treat them the same, or else I'm showing favoritism.
Hmm. And where is he getting that information?
I have no idea. If I asked him, he could come up with 100 things very easily.
Like
He
well, like
knows.
what? Like what?
It's one of those things where it's like I couldn't say off the top of my head. But if we
Yeah.
had a conversation about it, like if I was having a conversation with him right now, I mean, beyond the blanket statement of I'm using all of humanity's history as my explanation.
Right.
From that one, that was the most vague answer I think I probably ever got from him. Um, but he'll be like, no, this and this and this, and the way he explains things sounds so logical. We had a fight in we had gone to bed. We were having a fight over parenting one night, and he's like, why are you raising your voice? Because normally I'm very calm and collected. And I was like, because I'm angry. I'm hearing what you're saying, and the way you're explaining it makes sense, but it does not feel right, and I am angry. He said, well, if you're angry, maybe that's a sign showing that you realize that I'm right in some way. It's like that's not what it is at all. It's anger because also you may listen to me, but you do not hear me.
Mm-hmm.
And because he gets quicker results, his way must be right. And I'm not working on immediate compliance and obedience and parenting, getting obedience from fear. I want them to do the right thing because they know that that's the choice they're supposed to make. That's the best choice for themselves in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And they're 7 and 4. Like that's going to
Mm-hmm.
take a few more years to get there. We're still in the growling and the yelling phase, but those moments are becoming smaller and smaller each time they happen. Yeah, they happen all throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
but the duration of those fits are shorter. So to me, that's improvement. To him, it's still happening, and that's not improvement.
Hmm.
So there's no real place of coming together or agreement on these things.
Yeah. Um, right. And what I'll tell you too, because again, you have a couple options here of your next steps. When I'm trained as a couples therapist. Early in my practice, I saw mainly couples. And when I sat with people, I was like, very early in their relationships, I was like, you guys are such smart, competent people, and you still like relationships still take a lot of work and education and work. And so I've also met with couples that have been married, 40 years, 30, 40, 50 years, and they're dealing with the same problems they've had from the very beginning. So I think it's great that you're recognizing this like this early on. I mean, it's still early. And I will say that intervention can, again, if your goal is to have boundaries around parenting, at least be amicable, because that is the best thing you can do for your kids is be amicable with their parent, or and at least learn what that might look like. Do you feel in a place to be able to do that? Like, is your readiness, because it's hard, because like you're saying, that is hard. How do I don't want to, it feels wrong to force therapy or to like set this up, to even make the call, to even look it up because I'm still over functioning.
I think the biggest reason, and it's not even about, as far as that goes, it's not about the overfunctioning for me. It's the resentment of, oh, you're so against it, but oh, now you'll do it. If I initiate, if I make the appointment, if I look into somebody, Or even if I sat down and said, hey, pick somebody, I'm still the one making the appointment and all of that. And
Well,
it's more about a deep-seated like resentment.
for
Like
sure.
I don't, that's the one thing I haven't tried left, and I don't want to be the one to have to do it,
Right.
is more so what it is.
Totally. And that's fair. And what I will say is that long-term change, like his heart, I just talked about this. Like he has to get there to be a good parent, to be a good co-parent at the very least with you. If whatever happens in terms of outcome maritally, romantically, who cares at this point, right? But like the first step, he does have to do that work. And I think that's like what we're talking about right now is like the like crux of the issue is like, I will not do this because of my resentment, and I don't want to be the one to have to do this. And you're right. Like you
The
should
big fear
not.
past,
Yeah.
let's say we do go to therapy.
Yeah.
Let's say he is making changes. I will always have the fear of how long until this backslides, and I don't want to wake up another 5 years, 10 years down the line, and I'm in the same situation I was in before. And I know that relationships consistently take work. I do, but I don't know if it's because I feel like it's been so one-sided the whole time
The
so
whole time.
far.
Yeah.
For not completely, but for the majority of it, that I don't want to put myself in that situation again. And I told him, I was like, at this point I don't even know if it would work because of the things I mentioned that, his reasons were earlier. I was like, and also I don't know that I'd be, let's say you were doing the change. I don't know that I could trust it. And that alone would ruin the relationship.
Well, and that's what I'm hearing. The deeper thing is here is like, this is less about what he's the parenting stuff. I mean, it is obviously, but it's about this core wound of not being able to trust him and rely on him as a partner and for now and in the future. And you can't have anything if you don't have that trust. And so part of his work will be rebuilding that for the rest of his life.
And I don't want to wrong him if he did do the work, because I would feel that I was wronging him if I
But
decided,
you're not.
hey,
You're not.
You've been doing great, but
you're
okay,
not
bye.
though. You're not. You're not. You're allowed to be in a gray area. That's kind of what's hard about trust is that it's a gray area. It's not like I do trust you or I don't, especially in the position you're in. And you're allowed that. So I'll leave you with this kind of resource. Reading other people's stories can be helpful. I actually read this one story on Terry Real's website yesterday. He literally walks through the scenario you're talking about. I think it's Jane, this woman. I can even send it to you, where she's in your same scenario, where they were married maybe 10 years, I think, maybe longer. She, 2 years before they go to this couples therapist, they go to Terry. She's like, you know what? I'm not going to engage in this cycle. I'm going to work on myself. So she stopped her overfunctioning and her big reaction, stuff like that. And then by the time they made it to Terry, she was just like, I'm out of steam. I'm resentful. He's a brick wall. And anyway, Terry and the type of therapy he does is he goes through the story of like, I told him like, you shutting down is mean. Like, I know there's an emotional reason. I know you learned that. The impact of that is so destructive. And anyway, I think Terry in that first session was like, give me 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, or I think it was even 2, she was just like, I can't. He had made progress and she was like, I can't do it. And they had, the way he structures therapy is there's like I think disclosure session where the husband apologized and I don't know if she even accepted it, but she broke down. And, so like that may be the outcome, right? And you're allowed that. Like I'm hearing like guilt too of like, oh, I have to make a decision now. I can't live in a gray area because I'm responsible for how this turns out or something for him. I don't know. And I think that would be rooted. That would make sense because you care. And he obviously doesn't have the skills to manage that. So like, it's not like you're far off with that. Ultimately though, you're allowed to be in a gray area and you're allowed to take things like baby steps at a time and be honest about where you are the entire time. You know, our brain wants to be black and white about it because this is so hard emotionally.
With the way his brain is very logical, the things he says like, oh no, I am wrong here. Wait a second. No, that doesn't feel right. It might be true for him, but that's not true for me. But how can I explain it in a way he'll understand?
Yeah.
So I will definitely look into those things. Thank you for that.
Yeah. That's what I got. You know, no one can tell you what to do. This is a very difficult situation. You're not alone. I think this is becoming a much, in our greater collective awareness, as if, it already has been there. But for women in particular, this is the reality for a lot of people. And so, I think the more information you have, the better. The more you're in touch with what you're feeling, the better. The more you listen to that inner voice about what you need. That's always the question, right? Is like, what do I need right now? I'm touching his foot. I have anxiety. I'm having a panic attack. Like, maybe I can share that, or like, maybe that means I need to go to therapy. Maybe that means it's time to move out. Maybe that, whatever that means to you. But yeah, I don't know what lands on you about all of this. I know there's been a lot that we've covered.
Well, definitely looking into the RLT.
Yeah.
I've been seeing some of the things that you've shared about like Darvo. I don't know that he quite fits it, but it seems pretty darn close to how he handles conflicts in our conversations. So I've been looking into more of that. And that I'm being careful with that because that's part of my overfunction is how can I communicate better to him to get him to understand me? Mm-hmm. So just trying to be, aware with all of that. Obviously the guilt thing that is, like you said, it's my choice. It's not something that someone can go, bippity boppity boo, you're guilt free.
Right. Guilt is so hard. Guilt is so hard.
Yeah. So it's trying to, and just try and find ways to keep the kids safe in all of that, without alienating, inadvertently alienating them from him at the same time.
Right. That's so hard. So. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your story. And I think this will help so many people at least like not feel alone because, I wonder if it helped a lot of people realize their own guilt or whatever. So really appreciate you sharing that.
Well, thank you for having me. And I look forward to watching more videos from you.
Sounds good. Have a good day. See ya.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Oh, camera turned off again. Oh. All right. Well, the camera stopped working. So thank you again. Oh, we're back. All right, guys, let me look at some comments while I have you here, Kate. We lost video. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. All right. All right, guys. Well, I'll be back tomorrow. If you go on Facebook, you can leave comments there, post this live, and I will address all of them tomorrow. So thanks everybody for watching, and stay studious, like, subscribe.